sign.
Right.
Oh, yeah, the briefs. Sorry. Sorry, I've got to put it on.
I need to send your passport.
Sorry, Aaron.
Go.
You cold?
Go and get your hot water bottle.
Go for another jumper on.
Yeah, not going to get simple. Should have put the thermals on.
They're hard to
I put the volatile out on the your
I think we're all here who's coming, so we'll get started. Good evening, everybody. So, item 1, any declarations of interest? Nope. No public questions. Item 3, minutes of the last meeting. What's that, Indra?
No second.
Yeah, thanks. Item 4, police issues. There's obviously no police turning up again. Has anybody got anything that they want us to pass on to the police? No? Okay.
Well, I think, Chairman, I'd like us to repeat our request for them to actually come to the meetings.
Yeah, I thought there were going to be one here when I saw police, wasn't it?
Should it
Yeah, we'll
get to
repeat that.
here?
Can only ask them again. Okay, item 5, planning applications. Obviously we can't make a determination on this. Has anybody got any comments that they want to pass on? Yes, Councillor Wick?
Thank you, Chairman. The first two are in my ward. The Birchall Lane one, we didn't have any objections to this previously. and I think it would have been passed under the delegation scheme, because what we did, it was subject to there being no objection from the Environment Agency in terms of flood risk. The Environment Agency aren't objecting, so therefore our previous approval, subject to getting that confirmed, would apply. So I don't think we would have any objection to that one. And the next one at Whitworth Way, I think that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
And the other two, Chairman, you wanted to carry on.
Yeah.
Change the name up on existing old track, fine. I think it's a technicality. And I've got no comments on the new kiosk at the sewage treatment works off Greenfield Lane. It looks like it's like all the rest of the kiosks.
Okay. Okay, anybody else got any comments that you want to pass on? No? Okay, moving on. Item 6, area committee budget. We've got some new bids on this one. Okay, we'll do them in individual. First one is for the Barley Pensioners Club. Yeah, Councillor Sal.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I'd like to approve this application. I think we're doing a good job there. Since the COVID, when it was all shut down, they've certainly doing a good job renovating and making it look nice, and it's better for the pensioners, but I'd like to approve this and pass. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor.
Yeah, I'll second that, Chair.
Okay. All those in favour? Yep, that's carried. Okay, second one is from Barnolds with Town Council for water stations in parks. This is for the requested £5,000 and the total cost is going to be £10,000. Councillor Wick?
Thanks, Chair. Barnolds Town Council installed one of these water fountains on the town square. It was very well received. The public's been demanding that we install more of them around the town. And we thought natural extension of that is the parks. We already have the water supply there, so it'd be relatively cheap to get them in. So that's why we've asked for the £5,000.
Okay.
So I'd move that we...
Councillor Sal?
These type of water fountains, are they hygienically kept clean?
So they're actually...
You know, are people putting them out over them? That's... No, just for filling bottles.
Yeah, just for filling bottles. They're actually one of the few in the UK that are approved by the health people for outdoor, permanent installation. So it's why
it's just with all these, viruses and germs and stuff. We've got to be very careful what we are doing. But no, I'm quite happy with that. Thank you.
So you seconding
I'll
that?
second that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Wick?
Just on the hygiene front, Chairman, I can report that the one on the town square was used extensively for washing children's feet while we have the beach. However, the way that they work is the water comes out of all at the top, so you don't touch the top bit.
Okay.
And the other thing with them is that they are subject to an inspection regime. So I think that includes testing for Legionella.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why they're so costly is I think the purchase price is well in excess of £3,000. The one on the town square, memory tells me it was 3,600, something like that. That's just to buy it without the installation. So they're pretty robust and well designed.
Nothing's cheap these days. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Yeah, that's carried. Alright, the next one is the Greenfield allotment project. They're asking for £6,000. How do you feel about this one, Councillor?
Thanks, Chair. when I was at Town Council, has an allotment waiting list of over 2 years now. They're still in high demand even after COVID and demand skyrocketed during that period. The Town Council did have an offer from a university who were trying to do a study on that site to part fund some of the renovation into allotments. Fortunately that fell through, they couldn't get the external funding. So the Town Council's going back to doing it themselves and they're just asking for this sum. So I think we approve that.
I'd like to second that. I'm more than happy to go along with the allotments.
Good, okay, all those in favour then? Yep.
So it's
Sorry.
enough fund.
Looking
Is it, isn't it?
What is it, sir?
at
Yeah, well, it's got
11,700 still.
I think it's 579 or is it 6?
We've got 11,000, haven't we? That's 6. The other one was 5. Yeah, 5, that's 11. Yeah, they're going on.
Well, Chairman, no, that's 12. So it's £210 a drip. But I wasn't clear the paragraph 11, that deallocation. It says has been deallocated, so I assume the 1,500 is now back in the pot. But to be honest, I wasn't really
Sure.
paying attention to that.
Well,
Chairman,
if we could double check it,
It's
if
saying
it's
there's nothing, sorry Chair, it's saying that there's nothing in the pot with the 1,500, so obviously it's not going to be allocated or put back in, but we can double check the figure.
I think if we double check the figure and then if there isn't enough in that budget, then we just reduce it by that amount, whatever it is.
Well, Chairman, the alternative would be to dip a little bit in from the courts, maybe the courts ward allocation, because both the pensioners, well, I mean, let's face it, people in courts ward will use.
If they want somebody, give them some money. I mean, let's get it off the agenda and get it done.
Yeah.
200 and
Well,
£10.
yeah. So whatever the difference is, we take it out of the allocation.
200, well, even in courts ward,
Yeah. Okay.
£210.
Everybody agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Fine. Okay, moving on. Item 7. Traffic issues. Anybody got any burning issues? Yeah, Councillor.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm glad to see it's back on the agenda. I think option 3 is, the most obvious one to go for, with, sort of actually making it safer. The requirement for LCC to do a traffic accident study is, I think, a bit redundant. I mean, we know it's a big issue. Several people have died there. And there's a lot more at stake than just accident records. I mean, this is at a point where a lot of people walk to school, walk to work, and I think, if we're making this road safer for everyone, then it doesn't matter what the accident record is, in a way. I think that, a road like this should just say for everyone. So I'd pass that feedback through to the LCC engineers.
Okay. Councillor.
I'd like to second what Councillor Tom has said. I mean, this road is a very dangerous road. You've got heavy vehicles, you've got big Arctic lorries and what have you going on down there. You've got cars that's speeding and everything. You've got to make this road safe. I mean, people walk to the canals and what have you. It's an area where people go down to the church and what have you. But there is a blind spot there as well. Definitely wants sorting out. And as far as LCC goes, I've no faith in them at the moment in the Highways Department, but they need to come out and reassess this road. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to refer to the last bit. But my general comment about all of this is it must be, 2 years since we had a meeting about this, and we thought it was a positive meeting, and we were grateful for the LCC engineer meeting with us to discuss the issues, which, if you remember, it was online. It's probably only just over a year since thinking about it. Might have been September, October last year when we actually had the meeting. And it really hasn't moved on, because these are the things that we talked about then, and Matt Hargreaves was going to go back, weigh it up and then come back with some propositions. And all this report is saying is that there's 3 possible options which will be costed up and more detail given at the next meeting. Well, that is progressing away, but this is the position that we were at 12, 13, 14 months ago.
Just got a bit of progress.
Well, the last bit of this is about the interactive signs, and those signs were put in following the installation of the zebra crossing. The zebra crossing was put in as part of a Safe Routes to School project, which, it fades back into the dim and distant, but it probably predates when Councillor Tonwick started going to Courts Lane School. So you're looking at a quarter of a century or so. And once they put that zebra crossing in, Lancashire County Council's safety audit team came along and they said, well, the traffic is too fast on Skipton Road. So their response was to put these interactive signs up so that they flash when people approach going too fast. Now, I'm guessing it must be 10 years since they started to malfunction, and I've flagged it up innumerable times, and we discussed those at the meeting that we had a year ago, last September or whenever. And again, it's not moved on. It says on the agenda papers, it was confirmed that, as previously reported, the interactive signs are not working properly. Yes. However, and this is the incredible bit, these are not on LC's asset register. Well, they're promoted, but it's true, they don't appear on their online system. So you can't report them as not working without emailing through. And then it says the engineering manager is going to contact the manufacturers to get quotes for their repair or replacement. Now that's Pendle Council's engineering manager, not LCC. So we've got LCC, who said the signs had to be there for safety reasons because the traffic was too fast. LCC put them in place, and despite the fact that they're not on LC's asset register, they most definitely are the responsibility of the county council. So I'm not quite sure why Scott Worley is having to go to the manufacturers to get a price, because the ball is firmly in the county council court.
Well, we can go back to LCC and ask them why they're not on the register when they put them in the first place, for a start.
I'm not bothered about them why they're not on the register.
Right.
They just want to take responsibility and make sure they're working.
Yeah, we need to find out why they're not on their register though first when they put them in. Councillor Goldthorpe?
Yeah, I think it's simple. You just ask the question outright and stop shilly-shallying about. Are they going to implement? Are they going to cost these 3 schemes out? What is the cost of the one that's desirable? I think it's 3 that Tom Witt said. What's the cost of it? Are they going to implement it? What's the cost of replacing these signs, and are they going to pay for it? Otherwise, you're just going around in circles.
Yeah.
Ask them the question, then you'll get the answer back, which we may not like, but at least you know exactly where you stand, and then you can go into bat from there on in.
Councillor?
Thanks, Chair. I think further to that, I'd seek a commitment from the County Council to say that once the road is at the end of its lifetime and it's expected to be resurfaced, that they do go through a proper redesign stage, instead of just resurfacing it as it is. So even if a greater scheme doesn't take place in the near future, it's down on the books that we won't resurface this, we'll remake the road safer and better than what it is now.
Okay. Right then, let's move on. Item 8, provision of dog litter bins. Any comment on this, Councillor?
Yes, Chairman. I'm aware that Barnsley Town Council asked about replacement of litter bins in Victory Park, and these were first provided some 14, 15 years ago when the whole area was refurbished, and there were a number of them, 12, placed around the pavilion. Now, 2 of them in particular, next to the wheel park, are in very poor condition, corroded, doors swinging open, jagged metal, and the Town Council asked if Pendle Council could replace them. And my understanding is that the clerk was advised that Pendle Council didn't have any budget for replacement of litter bins. This was raised with me, and I said, well, the area committee had just put some money in, so that there is a bit of a budget for replacement of litter bins and dog bins. So I was quite surprised with that, and I just wonder if we could ask the Environmental Services Manager if these could actually be replaced. Oh, it's David.
I'll certainly, I am aware of the exchange, I think, with the Parks officer and I think he was under the impression he wanted all 12 replacing. He wasn't aware that there's 2 that was in dangerous condition, so...
It was a 2... Well, I mean, ultimately I think all 12 do need replacing, because clearly they've had a life.
But 2 are in dire need.
2 they're in a proximity to the wheel park, so there's kids tearing about, and the combination of those 2 things.
Councillor?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that there's 4 sort of dog bin issues in Kelbrook. 1 that's been moved, 2 that need to be moved, and 1 that needs to be replaced. And I just wonder if this is the right place to mention them. I think I've mentioned a couple before, so okay then. I have tried to do this through the system, but it was quite painful and actually didn't work at all after 2 fairly lengthy phone calls. It just didn't work. So the first one is just to note that a bin on the roundabout going into Kelbrook from Barlick on the left there has been moved. It had fallen off its perch, and it has been moved to attached to the fence near the substation just there, just to know that it's been moved, and the Parish Council are more than happy it stays where it is, but just so that the people know this. Now I did actually manage to get that bit through on the system online, so hopefully that one is known where its new location is, and we'd like it to stay there. The second one is there's a bin at the top of Quernmore Drive. If you come out of Quernmore, it's on your left-hand side on the corner, and it's right in the middle of the grassy area. We would like that to be moved to the edge of that grassy area by the hedge, just to be out of sight, just so that it's a bit more better to
So
look
back
at. Really.
towards the edge, not
Towards the hedge, yeah, towards the back up towards it. Oh, still on that grassy area.
Sorry?
It's a costly just moving bins, Chair. Is it necessary to move that?
Yeah, because it's ugly, it's hideous where it is, and nobody wanted it there.
Is it used?
Yes, it is used. Yeah, it's
Would
used.
you not think that if it's moved, it won't get used as much?
Oh no, it's only going to be moved about 10 yards, about 15 metres, but it's right on the corner of the bend, and basically it's just
Yeah, I know what you mean.
attached to the, it's just ugly. And
Aesthetically,
aesthetically, it's not
Yeah.
where it needs to be. There's another one is down at the back There's a bin that is attached to a pole just by the bit where that you can walk down into the beck, just opposite the church, just there. And again, we don't like that there, partly because it's close to seats and people sit down and have their lunch, and it's not nice to, I mean, I know there's a litter bin there, but it's not nice to have the dog bin there. And actually, with the litter bin being there, then in fact there's 2 litter bins there, and they actually operate the dog bins as well.
Yeah.
But so that one's almost superfluous in its location, and we just think that would be much better placed. There's a footpath sign by the entrance to the car park that's used for the village hall, and there's actually a metal footpath sign there that is on a footpath, and we think that that dog bin would be much better located. Again, it's 20 metres away, but it takes it away from that seating area, and also, let's say, there are already 2 bins there which are used. And the other one is just the replacement bin, the one that was removed from Cobb Lane outside number 6 some time ago, is still somewhere in the system. And
Sorry, I thought we'd exchanged a message on this. We were asked to remove that bin.
yes, yeah, only by the owner, not by the parish council.
We can't have if you could suggest a place for us to
Yeah.
the next bin.
That's what we were just going to do. When you come out of Cornwall Drive on the right hand side, then there's a little patch of land there, and put it there.
Are you clear on that? Everyone's saying yeah? Because there is we have got money in the budget to do this.
I thought budgets for new.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we can stretch it a bit, can't we?
If just on the case of if we're looking at new, then, as I say, the parish council is in the process of creating a village improvement plan, and part of that plan is looking at replacing some of the dog bins, and I know we've had this conversation in the past, so we wouldn't necessarily want to replace the dog bins that we've got are functional. They'll work as long as they last, but at some point, yes, we will be wanting to replace them. Obviously, that's our money to spend on that. And that's going to be part of the village improvement plan. But obviously, we're not in a position yet where that plan is adopted by the parish council. And due to the fact the neighbourhood plan has gone through its referendum, we haven't been able to do anything until that's now been approved by the electorate. So yeah, it's at the moment it's just a case of moving them to a better place, and then at some point we will be looking to replace them, and we may well be asking for funding at some point.
Yeah, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. David, Greenfield Lane, Barnoldswick, has that been replaced now, the post and the the dog bin on Greenfield Lane?
The report says it has.
Yeah.
Right, that's okay, that's answered that.
Yeah.
You're happy up there?
Can't hear anything. Where's Francis Avenue?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
Is that
That's a good one, I believe.
Para 4.
right? You might have to
I thought we'd all...
So that shouldn't be on.
No.
just tell them to, use their own money.
Can't order. Okay, anything else on dog bins? No? Okay, let's move on. Item 9, open space at Cornwall. I'm going to say Cornwall Palace then, Cornwall Place. We're still waiting for the progress to come back to this committee, so we'll just leave it on the agenda for now. Okay. Item 10.
Chairman,
Sorry.
Councillor Church is muttering in my ear, but he's pointing at the word valuation of the land on the top of page 5, and heard back from the Duchess solicitors who are now in a position to proceed with the valuation of the land. Now, a short recap of the history of this is the developers who built Cornwall Place, part of the 106 arrangements was that they were giving the open space to Pendle Council, and in addition to giving the land, which obviously there's a liability to look after it, they gave Pendle Council some money to maintain it, an amortised sum for 20 years or whatever it was. And the money was handed over to Pendle Council, and Mr Walker's many people have been spending a little bit of it every year to cut the grass, etc, etc, etc. And a few years ago, Barnoldswick Town Council said, well, we're not too happy with the standard of maintenance, and please could the land be handed over to the Town Council together with the sum of money that remained in the pot to look after it. And at that point, Pendle Council said, oh well, we don't own the land, it never got transferred. And I think the story is that the developers went into liquidation and the land wasn't transferred before that was completed. So the Duchy of Lancaster have acquired the land because the company was insolvent, and they've ended up as the owners. Now, going back to square one, the land was supposed to be handed to the local authority. So when people start talking about valuation, I'm thinking, well, why are they valuing it? They don't need to value it. All they need to do is give it back, as it were. There shouldn't be any money transaction, and yet the Duchy, and hang on a minute, is the Duchy of Lancaster this super rich sovereign organisation, Crown thing? They're wanting the valuation fee. They're wanting Pendle Council to stump up the money to value the land. This is cloud cuckoo land. Everything's standing on its head. We ought not to be paying money out. Pendle Council ought not to be paying money out. And the Duchy of Lancaster ought to be handing the land to the rightful owners at nil cost. So, Chairman...
I agree, that was the position.
Yeah. So why are we talking about this valuation? I'd like to have the Duke of Lancaster sat in the room and have a discussion.
It's not actually him, is it?
Well, it's the Duchy of Lancaster, so ultimately,
in that
yes,
case, do you think we should write to the Duchy of Lancaster and ask them why are they asking for this? Because obviously you can relate to it was supposed to be handed over initially free of charge, so are they now wanting payment?
Sorry, Chair, it isn't quite clearly stated from our legal bearing. Interacting with the Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Lancaster made it quite clear that if the Crown now owns the land, and if Pendle or Barnoldswick Town Council want it, it'll have to be bought from the Crown. But we can clearly make our...
I think we should make a case to them as to why they are wanting to charge us now when initially it was going to be given over for free from the developer.
Cemetery, yeah.
Yeah?
Well, Chairman, there is an alternative.
Go on.
The Duke of Lancaster can get the lawnmower out and come look after it. And if it belongs to Crown, we'll put a plaque on it and say, this land is owned by the Duke of Lancaster.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so we'll do that first and then come back to us and find out, okay? Let's move on. Item 10, North West Ambulance Services. We've had some figures through. Has anybody got any comments on what's affecting? Yeah, Councillor.
Chairman, well, I started at the top, and we've got a report which covers 2 pages of A4, and it shows the turnout response in different parts of the North West Ambulance Service region. So I started at the top, and these are all for Lancashire. Blackburn with Darwin. I thought, oh yes, Turnout, best response time, mean average time, 7 minutes 21 seconds. I thought, well, that's pretty good. And then we got to Blackpool, 6 minutes 45. I thought, yeah, oh great, they're doing well. Chorley and South Ribble, 9 minutes and 5. East Lancashire Clinical Commissioning Group, 9 minutes 41. I thought, well, slipping a bit, but you know. And then I got to Fylde and Wyre, 11 minutes and 20 seconds. I thought, oh, that's not so clever. Greater Preston, 8 minutes 16 seconds. Morecambe, 9 minutes and a second. West Lancashire, 10 minutes 58. And then we get to BB8, BB10, BB11, BB12. Folridge, Lanchbridge, Trawden, 10 minutes 46. Nelson, 8 minutes 24. Burnley, etc., 7 minutes 40 seconds. Burnley, 8 minutes 27 seconds. Fenshire, Simonson, etc., 8 minutes and 12 seconds. And then right at the tail end Charlie, Van Olsbeek, Keighley, Kelbrook, Salford and Suff, 16 minutes and 11 seconds. So we have below 10-minute response times for almost the whole of the area until you get to West Craven, and all of a sudden the category 1 response, in other words the top emergency response, is more than twice as much as elsewhere in the North West Ambulance Service area. Now, I for one just don't think that is acceptable to local residents. It's a disgrace that our level of service is so much worse than elsewhere, and I think it's absolutely crucial that NWAS respond to our concerns and actually up their game. Now, in the report it does talk about there is more work that they can do with the council and will report back, and there's a new person in post who will be able to attend a future meeting. I think from this meeting, Chairman, we need to be saying loud and clear that it is utterly unacceptable for residents in West Craven to suffer a service, an ambulance response time, which is twice as bad as most of the rest of the North West Ambulance area. And I think we should be looking for changes as soon as ever are possible. So that's what I'd like to move.
Yes. Councillor Salford.
It's not much different than last time. No. In fact, it's very similar, having gone through the list twice. Yes, what Councillor Whitford just gone through is exactly near as damn it the same as the last set of figures we got way back. It's always been that way. In fact, it's got worse without a doubt, as it's got worse across the patch. But nevertheless, we are at the bottom of the pile where it is. It was wrong last time we got these figures. It's wrong now. Nothing's changed other than the thing hasn't got any better. So you can go through it as much as we want. We need to start highlighting this on a more regular basis and get some answers back. We did get the answers, which we didn't like when they came and told us about them, because what they said was they didn't really have a response to it, if we all remember, when we had the presentation from them. And it's not changed. So it's there. At the moment, it would be quicker for somebody to get a taxi out of the area and go to Yorkshire if they've got an emergency, rather than contemplate these sort of figures.
Okay. Councillor Purcell.
I'm totally agree with both councillors, and probably every councillor around here are saying the same thing. If you need an ambulance, don't bother waiting for one, because you're not going to get one. You might as well just get a car, get somebody there. It is only last week I had to bump into an ex-councillor, and he was talking about it and everything, and he said it's absolutely, he had to do something, but he said it was absolutely appalling, the treatment that we got. And this is what we're getting. We're not getting the first class service, we're not getting a second class service, it's not even a third class service, and we need to do something. And we need a monthly report, like we have with the police. Let's have a monthly report and automatic it until we get the results.
Okay, Councillor Church.
Thank you, Chair. There seems to be, well, obviously we can all see there's a big step in the numbers when it comes to us. Can they not tell us any factual reason why there is such? This isn't just bit worse, bit worse, bit worse. There's this big step when it comes to us. Is there not one factual reason, like it's further away, or it's well, I'm sorry, I don't mean that literally, but there has to be some logical fact, not just an opinion or we're a bit busy or anything like that. There has to be some reason why there is such an obvious differential, and I think that we should quite simply ask them to tell us what it is,
Yeah,
and then when we know that, we can start to work around it.
exactly. Yeah, good point. Yeah, we can have that on.
You can assume, you can assume we think we know, but they've never actually, quite right, they've never actually said. The reason it's happening is because you're at the end of the food chain, you're at the end of the bar. They haven't said that. They just won't seem to change. And I remember Ken going through these on a regular basis, and it was the same thing applied. And we, and the last set of figures we had, Folridge and parts of Cobham were much better, to be honest, which tends to make you think it is a geographical issue, and the other ones that are performing well are nearer to the centre, I guess. But who knows? But you're right, we do need an answer.
Yeah, so we'll ask these questions to them again and see if we can get any answers out of them. That's all we can do. Okay, item 11. Have we any updates on any of these three or nothing yet?
There's nothing on it.
No updates. Right, okay. Item 12, exclusion of public and press. Can we move that, please? Yeah. Jenna, going to second it?
Yeah.
All those in favour?